families, and all of our staff. We have said all along that the science and data will drive our decision-making. The reality, the data is headed in the wrong direction. For Kent County, and the back and forth of potential closings and openings of school would be a lot more disruptive than just staying virtual now. I want to assure our students, our staff, and our families that we will continue to find ways to strengthen and improve the virtual learning experience and all the supports for our students, particularly those in the greatest of need. Now I'd like to turn it over to the president of the Grand Rapids School Board, Ms. Christian Grant.
Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the Grand Rapids Board of Education, I want to thank all of our amazing staff, my colleagues on the board, and our superintendent that have been working tirelessly for our students and the families that have stood with us during these unprecedented times. There are no easy answers, solutions, or decisions, and the stakes are very high right now. The health, safety, and well-being of our 15,000 students and families, in addition to our 2,000 teachers, school leaders, and support staff, are at stake based on the decisions that we make as a board and a district. We have to rely on science and data from our county, state, and federal health agencies to provide the best, most informed guidance on how to navigate through this global pandemic. Based on the public health bulletin and guidance from public health authorities, we believe the decision to remain virtual is the safest and smartest approach at this time. As the mother of a GRPS student, I understand very clearly the challenges that virtual learning presents. I know that the decision may be frustrating and upsetting to some students, parents, and staff. As a district, we are asking for your patience as we work hard to support our students and families during this time. We are doing our best to lead through the uncertain and ever-changing pandemic, and we are putting the safety of our students and staff first. Thank you once again for your support, and I believe I will turn it back over to Mr. Himholt as we open up for questions.
And this is an opportunity for Mary Bounds, the president of the Grand Rapids Education Association, to say a few words.
Good morning, everyone. I want to applaud the district on the decision to remain virtual for the rest of this semester. I know that teachers want to be back with their students, and that's a frustration that I'm sure they're going to be feeling, but I truly believe that their health and safety trumps all of that, because we need to stay healthy in order to look forward to being back with students. Thank you for this opportunity to speak and to answer questions.
Great. Thank you, Mary. Now we're going to open it up for questions. Would ask the attendees if you have a question you'd like to ask, please raise your hand or post it in the chat, and we will call you into, or the moderator will bring you into the Zoom. Do we have any questions from our friends in the media? And Craig, you may have to help me a little bit because I'm on my phone. I'm looking to see, there we are, Jay Dunmeyer. Craig, can you pull? There we go. All right, it looks like the floor is yours. Question from Jay Dunmeyer. Hey, Craig, the audio seems to not be working.
It looks like we're not getting audio from that participant.
Yep.
I would recommend posting the question in the Q&A section.
We've got Joe LaFergie. Can you, next hand raised? All right.
Can you hear me?
Yep, there you go.
So what has been done for parents as far as trying to help them with technology and internet connection through this, try to help the students get through this from GRPS?
Good afternoon, or good morning. And we have, at present, all of our students, we're a one-to-one district, so every student has access to a device. What we've done to help the household is to ensure that there's also internet connectivity for all families, and providing either internet essentials or other programming to make sure that students have access to that. We are working through our Title I programming to ensure through Parent Academy and other access points that parents are able to get additional training and support to support their young people at home.
Is there a way to gauge how successful that has been?
We have done some surveys with our families, and we will continue to kind of engage them. We've also done listening sessions through the fall at each building site and as well as at the district level to get feedback from our families and community as to what's working well, where are some challenges and suggestions that they have to move forward. So we've done a couple of different things to measure how people are doing and other supports that they need going forward.
Thanks, Joe. I got in the question, Phil Dehaan is asking, can you confirm the date through which GRPS will stay virtual?
At present, we are remaining virtual through the remaining part of this semester, which would be January 4th, 2021. And as we get closer, again, we are continuing to measure where we are from a county and a city from a health perspective, and we'll make adjustments as needed and make sure that we continue to engage and include the community and update as appropriate.
We have a question from Jay Dunmeyer. What about families who are struggling to find childcare during this time, who rely on school for a place for their student to go during the day, as many parents have returned to work?
Yes, that is always the challenge. And again, we are working closely. We're trying to find resources and provide connections for families as suggestions for how to provide childcare and other needs. As you know, our base work is around instructional practices and curriculum, but we are working with our social workers and our parent outreach workers in advocacy groups to ensure that we are connecting families with additional resources as appropriate.
There was a question about we're recording this, will we share the video? And yes, we will be putting the video out to all our parents, staff, and the media. All right, I'm looking to see if there are other questions. You can either raise your hand or type it in the Q&A function if you have additional questions. Here we go. Phil Dehaan has a follow-up. Is the revised plan for this week staying the same with Friday off, or will this week revert back to virtual?
We are keeping our schedule as communicated. So what we've communicated to our families for this week will stay in place because we figured that would cause confusion for families. And so Friday will be off as far as instruction. And so we'll communicate what our new schedule will be going forward for next week later this week.
All right, Leona Dunn is asking, will the lunch program continue throughout the winter?
Absolutely. We want to ensure that students have access to both breakfast and lunch meals during this time.
Jay Dunmeyer asked, did you think as a district you would be in this position to delay school till 2021, or did you anticipate being in a better position at this time?
Great question. I think we want children to be in school. We want our teachers and our families and our staff We want to be in a place where we are holding what would be traditional school. When we set this program and process in motion in July, we were thinking, because of how data was trending, that moving towards the second marking period, that we would be ready to return and that the health would dictate that. And again, we are following what's taking place currently versus what we were thinking in July and August. And so I think it's really important, as we are even sharing our plan for January, we still want to be, keep in communication, but also understand if things are changing as we move closer to the end of this semester, that we're responsive to that. And so, to answer your question, long and short, no, we wanted to be back in school. Everybody wants our students and our schools to be up and running.
So far, we don't have any new questions. Let me just look at the. Oh, Joe LaFergie has his hand back up. Can you bring Joe back in, please, Craig? Joe, you're mute.
How optimistic are you that you'll actually be back in class in January?
That's like trying to predict the future. From an optimistic and hopeful place, yes, I want us to be back in class, and I want our students, I think that's important for students, I think that's important for families, to be back in class and in-person learning. But we are going to follow what is safe for our students, what is safe for our staff and for our families. That will be the measure and the direction that the board has supported and has continued to state all along, that we want to make sure that we are considering what's going on in our community at the time. But from a place of hope, I do want us to be, I think everybody on this call wants us to be back in school.
Phil Dehaan is asking, the decision was based on info late last week from Kent County. What did this weekend look like for the board, administration, et cetera, in terms of meeting, hours spent discussing the announcement? It must have been made for a pretty hectic weekend.
President Grant, do you want to take that one, or do you want me?
Yes, I'm not sure that any of us have had a calm weekend since the beginning of this, since March, but it definitely was a weekend full of conversations, analyzing data, monitoring data, and I don't think I'm overstating anything when I say that as a board, we don't want to find ourselves in a last minute position like this again. So we are learning from districts like Lansing and Ann Arbor who have set indicators in place for what does safety look like to go back. And we will be supporting the district as we work to set up indicators that will help us to measure when it is safe for a return. So we're not just putting a date in the future, but there are clear indicators about health. So we know when our kids can safely return.
All right, let me see. I'm not seeing any other questions. Let me see if we have hands raised. All right, I'm not seeing any other questions. So give one last call for questions. Kayla from MLive. Craig, can you bring Kayla in, please?
Can you hear me now?
Kayla. Yep, we can hear you now.
Okay, just wondering if the data does improve, is there a chance that students could be brought back before January? I know you mentioned kind of measuring those indicators of safety.
I would say, yes, we want to continue to be very thoughtful about what that looks like. And we are looking at trend data overall. Our goal, again, as President Grant just illustrated, that we want to make sure that we have clear measures of when we will be in place. And then we're looking at it daily, hourly, and certainly weekly as to what's taking place in our community. But we want to make sure that we are very thoughtful about what this looks like for our families and for our staff, so that people have that time to continue to be prepared for the eventual return to school.
Leona Dunn, I'm sorry, Kayla, do you have a follow-up? All right, she left. Leona Dunn has asked, how have teachers been able to combat late assignments? And are there reports of students falling behind?
I think with the reports, or students are in some cases not doing as well, and we are looking at how do we continually creatively support our students so that they are able to thrive and learn. As far as with respect to late assignments or students struggling, I think our teachers have been very conscientious about following up with their students through the asynchronous time, through office hours, through small group instruction to provide support. And again, making those connections, it's all about relationships, making those connections between teacher and student that you would expect to see when students are struggling with assignments, and turning them in or not turning them in, and just keeping that line of communication open, and then working very closely with families as well.
All right, we have no open questions. Going to do a final call here for questions. I'm not seeing any hands raised. And I'm not seeing any questions in the Q&A. Oh, I spoke too soon. Leona Dunn is asking, what is the district doing to aid students with special needs?
Great question, Leona, excuse me. We are having discussions about what are the next steps, and we've talked about possibly creatively looking at learning pods to address our most vulnerable students and students who have disabilities, as well as opportunities for students who are needing that additional instructional support that for that in-person where they might be struggling with a particular content area. And that's ongoing conversations that our building leaders are having, and then also as we work very closely with our teachers union around what that looks like to ensure that everybody has the same understanding. And then we will be communicating something in the very near future around how to get some more access to our teachers through either learning pods or some other creative measure.
All right, we'll call that the final question. We want to thank everyone for coming out to signing on today, I should say. And we're going to close this down. If there are any questions, my contact information was listed in the press release that went out at 10:30. Thank you.
Thank you.